Hi everybody, today we're going to be making a zine and I'm going to show you how to take this to this with screen printing. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make our zine. We're going to make the proof of it first and our original template. So this zine has a front cover, pages 2 and 3, 4 and 5, 6 and 7, and I've already drawn out my design, but I'm going to show you how we're going to do that with 2 different sheets of paper. So you can either use regular photocopy paper or you can use a little bit heavier cardstock paper for the final product. For now, we're going to use regular copy paper and I'm going to fold it hot dog style. And I'm going to use a bone folder to get crispy, nice edges. Just going to run that through there and then I'm going to fold this hot dog style. And it's really important that you get everything nice and lined up. Now we're going to open it up and then we're going to fold into the middle. And we're going to do the same to the other side. So now we have 8 boxes. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to fold it hamburger style again, and we're going to cut this line right here in the middle. So one nice big cut, and then you will have a slit in the middle of the paper just like so. You will push those 2 papers out just like this, and you will fold them inside just like so. So now we have a folded zine. Alright, so from here you're going to draw out everything you need. So what I recommend is writing front cover, page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then I would recommend writing back cover here, just so you don't get lost when you open it back up. And when we open it back up, you'll have your key. So from here, what I recommend doing is to make sure that your stencil doesn't go off the paper. I drew a 1/4 inch margin all the way around each box, just to make sure that I wouldn't hit the edge of the line. So you can do that as well. And then you're just going to draw out your zine how you want to do your storyboard. So remember, there should be a beginning, a middle, and an end. There should be a figure, there should be a ground, and a background, and a midground. And there should be figures that are interacting with each other as well, okay? So like right here, this shape is interacting with this shape is interacting here with this line and this shape. We want to make sure that our negative and positive spaces are interacting with each other, and we have a silhouette. Think of Kara Walker's work, where she just has silhouettes that are very intricate and beautiful and nice. We want the same effect. So once you have drawn your zine out, the next thing to do is transfer it. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get some transfer paper like this, and I've already transferred this one. And how I like to transfer images is I'll get the original drawing and some blue masking tape. And on my drawing board here, I'm going to tape the corner. So I'm going to tape the right corner first. And then I'm going to go directly diagonal to this corner. And I'm going to tape these corners off. And then what you're going to do is you're going to place your transparency paper over it. And you're going to want to copy everything you have on your original zine onto the transfer paper with a Sharpie marker. This way you see everything that has black is where the ink is going to flow into. That's where the shape is. That's where we're going to cut. So once you have that done, we're going to mirror this image onto our freezer paper. Now freezer paper, this is cut by 8.5 by 11. Remember that freezer paper has a glossy side and a not glossy side. We're gonna want to draw our transfer onto the not glossy side. So what we're gonna do is we're going to take off our original drawing. Remember, this is mirrored, so we flipped it over. So I'm going to leave that there. And we're going to put the glossy side down. And we're going to tape up the 4 edges here onto our drawing board. This is our freezer paper. We have it glossy side down. Then we're going to want to get graphite paper that looks like this. This is where the graphite is. Where the graphite has 2 different sides. It has the darker side and the lighter side. We're going to want to put the darker side down, and we're going to want to match it up with the freezer paper. And again, we're going to tape off the 4 edges. Then we're going to put our transfer on top of it, mirror side facing us. And we're going to line that up. And we are going to tape off these 4 edges. Now you should have a sandwich with your freezer paper or your graphite paper and your tracing paper on the top. So what I like to do is I like to get a different color. So here I use black for the original drawing there. And I'm going to use this red pen to trace over all of my shapes that I have here. And that's the graphite paper is going to transfer that onto the freezer paper. So let's go ahead and do that. And once we have traced the whole thing, we're going to go ahead and take off the tape one by one. And we're going to want to save this just in case we want to make another stencil. And here on the freezer paper, you will have your tray style image. And now the fun part begins. We're going to use an X-Acto knife to cut out each shape that we see here. Now remember, you don't want to cut out the wrong parts, so if you need to, color in the shapes that you are going to cut out, and then you will have your stencil. And your stencil should look something like this. Once your stencil is completely cut out, we are ready to prep the screen and screen print. Now we will need 2 different sizes of tape. You'll need this blue painter's tape and then this white or this beige tape as well. You're going to need your freezer paper stencil, and you're going to need your screen. So this is where the image will be placed on this front screen right here. And on the back of the well, this is where our ink is going to go. So we're going to flip this over and we're going to add our ink, or our freezer paper, glossy side down onto the screen. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do all 4 corners, that way it stays in place and doesn't shift around too much. And after all 4 corners are placed, I'm going to use this thicker tape and cover the rest of the screen so the ink doesn't flow through. So we're just gonna measure out the tape. Alright, so now that our screen is taped up with our stencil, we are ready to print. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna wanna make a hinge for the screen. So to do that, I'm gonna get some blue masking tape, put it on the edge, so it creates a little hinge on the table. So this little flap that's hanging off right here, and we want it right there. And then we're just gonna press that down really nice and neat. I'm gonna cut off the excess here. So there we have a successful little hinge for our screen print. And we are ready to get our paper and make registration marks. We're using plain printer paper. And you're gonna wanna put it underneath, and you can see it through the screen here. So we're gonna wanna make sure that it's the same placement as the freezer paper. And I think right there is the perfect placement. And you just want to move this until you can see the edges right here of the paper where it matches up perfectly. So the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to get our blue masking tape, and we are going to make registration marks where our paper is, because that's where we're going to put our paper every time we print. What you're going to need is some screen printing ink, which I have here. We're using black because we are doing silhouettes. You will need your squeegee that fits your screen, and it has to have at least an inch of relief on each side here, and it does. And I like to use a spatula to get my ink out of the jar. And I have a little paper towel here just in case I make a mess. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get a bead of ink on the top part of our screen. And what we're gonna do is once that ink is there, we're gonna pull it down, and we're gonna create a flood where the ink will get into the screen, and then we'll pull it back up and then pull the print itself, okay? Now we're going to flood and then pull, flood and then pull. So it's a back and forth process. So I'm just gonna get some ink here. I'm gonna put this at the very top. We don't want it touching our stencil at all. So I wanna make sure it's nice and even. And I'm gonna put that there. And for this first rotation, I'm gonna pull the ink, pull it back. I'm gonna pull this down. And I'm gonna lay my paper into the registration right here. And then get some more ink. And I'm ready to pull my screen. You want nice even pressure going all the way down at a very nice even speed. And there we have created our first print. Not too bad for the first one. And now we will do this 5 more times. Finished making all of our zines or zines, there are a few questions that I wanted to reflect upon. What was the hardest part about working with only one color? How did limitation affect your design decisions? Did the image change meaning was sequenced into a zine or a zine? What role does repetition play in communication? And these are all really great reflection questions to consider after creating some work of art. Thanks and have a great day.